In the previous video, I talked about stress can be categorized into 4 different groups and how stress can be cascaded into different body systems within us. In this video, I will go through 3 case studies with the use of a new flow chart which I designed recently, and I will guide you through some of the clues which you can start looking at. Let's imagine for a while that you are on a vacation. Instead of enjoying this long fall holiday, you kept having all these signs and symptoms that you used to experience. This could be your headaches every morning you wake up, or your constipations, or even now this excessive sweating seems normal to you now. If you pause and think for a second, does this symptom seem normal to you even though you are relaxing on your holiday? Lying on a beach and enjoying the scenery? This could be the signs and symptoms that your body is constantly highlighting to you. The hidden stressor is being switched on 24/7 on the back end of your system. For example, now your heart rate pumps faster. You tend to breathe more shallow and more frequently. You think it's normal because of your age. You take longer time to digest because you think you are eating more red meat instead of vegetables. You have more water retention because you think that you are dehydrated. All these signs and symptoms belong to this sympathetic nervous state. Let me walk you through how lifestyle, nutrition, and environment can impair your life and slowly cascade into your stress experience. The flow chart which I'll be using later is designed by me and is very useful for beginners or even someone who likes to go into different rabbit holes. You can download a free copy in my description box below. I'm still expanding and revising from time to time, so the version you download might seem a little bit different from what you see now. Okay, for the first case study, we have Lucy. She's 43, a mother with 2 kids. She's an office worker and tends to eat out frequently most of the days. Her main complaint is these sleeping issues and the frequent peeing in the middle of the night. So she also have this unexplained weight gain in the midsection even though she doesn't eat much. So over time, when she doesn't have this sufficient sleep, she progresses into this chronic fatigue. But before I go into this chart, do know that you might experience a combination of these more than 2 symptoms, or you might have more than 5 symptoms. Just remember that all these symptoms are the byproducts from all the upstreams. So if you take a closer look on this is open using my GoodNotes 5. So as you can see from all the parts, top part here, these are all the contributors, which I already differentiate them into 4 different groups. There you'll have your cellular, your emotional stress, your environmental and nutrition stress. So she tends to eat out quite a lot. So I presume she has a lot of this ultra processed food. Most of it is all refined carbohydrates. And sometimes she might also have all this food sensitivity which she doesn't aware of, and they are usually cooked with high vegetable seed oils. So in terms of her environment, we are not sure, and her home environment, we are not sure whether she has a lot of all this maybe mold inside the office, the room. She might be having quite a high value of EMF and radiations. The family condition, we are not sure about the relationship. All this can be a stressful event for her, the mental stress. And for all this genetics, she doesn't do any genetic testing, so we are also not sure whether she has any polymorphism. Okay. And she didn't mention she's taking any medications. So if we move down here, as mentioned from the past videos, when someone is having stress, the body will always prioritize all the activities towards the stressful situations, and they will actually won't focus on all this non-survival activity, which is the digestion. So over time, she will tend to have all this poor digestion and malabsorptions from all these minerals and vitamins over here. There's also a very deficiency or maybe not enough protein and fatty acids, which is open over here. So as you can see, when she complained about all this sleep, we know that sleep is usually associated with melatonin. Okay, it's over here. And you need sufficient protein to go through your methylation cycle, then go over through your folate pathway to produce your neurotransmitter, which is shown over here. So over time, she doesn't have this low serotonin and melatonin. Progressively, she will experience this mood disorder and will affect her sleep. So over time, when she doesn't have all this sleep, then you will sometimes experience this insomnia. Then after it progress into this chronic fatigue. If you look at this nutrient deficiency, if she doesn't absorb well, she'll miss out most of the B vitamins and other vitamins and minerals. The most crucial part is this B2. B2 is very essential for making your folate, your metafolate, 5-meta tetrahydrofolate, which is the one, this bioavailable form which you want them to be your blood, inside your blood serum. They are very important because they are needed to produce your SAMe. Your SAMe is your meta donor and is needed to produce, to support all these metal transferase enzyme, which you can see from this line over here. So all these 7 types, there's actually more than that, but these are the 7 which are the very crucial inside your body system. So she mentioned about this unknown weight gain. She might not be excreting the excess estrogen inside her body, then causes her to have this excess estrogen. Then now she will have this weight gain and estrogen dominance inside her body. She also tends to eat out quite a lot. Then she might have a lot of this high blood sugar, which also can increase her weight gain. If she managed to get sufficient amino acids and she doesn't have this serotonin or melatonin issues, she might experience a lot of this stress coming from high cortisol. So the high cortisol will lead her to this sympathetic nervous state. Then will also lead to all this poor sleep quality. Then you have all this downstream, which are unable to relax and will cause her to have these exhaustions. So you say it's all linked up. As for the frequent peeing in between her sleep in the middle of the night and the frequent hydration during the day, it might indicate a possible active infection, such as your parasites, this environmental bacteria and yeast. Or it could be an imbalance of crucial minerals like your potassium, magnesium, and sodium. So this is the first case study. Are you still with me? It might seem a little bit complex when you first time go through this flowchart, but I believe this is very useful if you learn how to use it over time. For case scenario 2, we have John. He's 32, a manager. He's married with no kids, and his main complaint is this acid reflux. And he has been on this proton pump inhibitor for 6 years. He do experience the anxiety and this irregular heartbeat, and sometimes some twitching on her muscles and body parts on random area. Then his spouse also wondering why he often has these cold hands and feet. I believe that most people like John, when you have all these main complaints, acid reflux, you'll reach out for these over-the-counter drugs, specifically to treat the acid reflux or to improve the digestion. And if you visit a doctor's office, they are most likely to be prescribed with this proton pump inhibitor, which John has been using for the past 6 years. Then because of his anxiety, John also started going to Facebook groups, researching about how to manage anxiety or sometimes the depression. Before we go into the chart, do you think these signs and symptoms that John has could be all interlinked? Okay, when John is stressed out, he's obviously not going to digest well. Same case like Lucy. So you can see over here when he's low in all these minerals and vitamins, especially when he's low in this zinc and vitamin B1, his stomach acid isn't functioning optimally. Then over time, you will lead to this low stomach acid. Then you slowly progress to this acid reflux. You also actually alter the pH level inside. So it becomes more alkaline. Therefore, you will have this lower capability of killing other pathogens and parasites. Then you also allow more infections to go through into his small intestines. Also, depending on the bacterial species and his current gut microbiome ratio, which will then eventually progress into some sort of gut dysbiosis. Then over time, he might also experience this diarrhea, constipation, and even bloating. And if not resolved, it might eventually progress further into small intestines, bacterial overgrowth. Or in some cases, they might also have this leaky gut. Okay, we go back to this nutrient deficiency. If you go downwards, because of the deficiency in all these macronutrients, amino acids, plus the vitamins and minerals, now his folate pathway is being slowed down tremendously. So if you go left here, you see all these brain chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, as well as this epinephrine and norepinephrine. Without a proper balance, neither too much or too little, which is in John's case, he might have too much in his system. For this neurotransmitter, dopamine, and all this epinephrine and norepinephrine, I did mention in my previous video under this ADHD, because he also involved in how well these chemicals are being excreted out of his system through his urine. And in order to do that, you need the metal transferase enzyme COMT. So if you follow downwards back to this folate pathway on the left here, you can see this BH4. BH4 stands for biopterin pathway. So you also interfere in the production of this nitric oxide. Then when his nitric oxide is low, he might have this experience of increased high blood pressure or poor blood circulations or poor blood flow, which is why he experienced this irregular heartbeat and cold hands and feet from bad circulation. Does it sound more logic to you now with this chart? Most symptoms do not come from just a single source. It's usually a cluster of body system dysfunction. For example, high blood pressure, you can see here, can be also linked with low magnesium. Or maybe if he is having this poor nutrition, then tends to have a lot of inflammation. This will also increase his high blood pressure. And you might want to consider if someone is having this sleep apnea, the sleeping disorder. As for the cold hands and feet, it could be also linked with someone having insulin resistance or high blood sugar. So we have to look at the whole picture and not narrowing into a specific symptoms. We will go through the last case study before we wrap up. So we have Jane, she's 20, a uni student, loves to snacks a lot, eating tons of food which are fortified with synthetic vitamins, which I think most of us doesn't have any idea whether these synthetic vitamins are good for us. And her main complaints is this bloating, hives, psoriasis. There's also a lot of this chronic running nose. And she also noticed there are a lot of these gray hairs showing up, even at such a young age. And she also mentions she became more temperamental. There's a lot of all these hair trigger issues. Okay, since we go through the two case studies earlier, we can jump right into this folate pathway. Or maybe around this poor digestion, this area over here. When Jane snacks a lot of this fortified cereal bread, she became very deficiency in this metal folate. Because when all these food are being fortified with folic acid, one of the synthetic form of folate, which is not found naturally in the environment, and it's not the preferred folate which we want, you actually slow down this methylation cycle and affect the other functions inside her body. The form of folate we want is actually the 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is shown over here, 5-MTHF. When it's being slow, so The end product SAMe will be then affecting the histamine pathway as shown here, and even her detoxification pathway or the estrogen pathway. Then when her histamine bucket is too full, then all the overspill will be showing up as someone having high histamine issues. Then she will start running issues like eczema, running nose, and psoriasis. All these skin issues. Her detoxification pathway now also make less antioxidant, the glutathione. Then without this glutathione, it's very hard to process the byproduct hydrogen peroxide. Then with hydrogen peroxide build up, you start to having more gray hairs. I did show a pathway in my previous video, whereby someone link with this, when you have stress, you have more gray hairs. But the pathway is being so-called executed in steps by steps. As for her hair trigger issues, this temperamental anger, it could be coming from how well her estrogen and brain chemicals are being excreted out from her system. Because both estrogen and dopamine share the same enzyme, the COMT, which is one of the metal transferase shown here. When the COMT enzyme is being reduced or slowed, now the dopamine and estrogen is having an excess. She's not able to efficiently excrete them out of her system. That explains why she has all these hair trigger and anger issues. Do you see the full picture now? This flowchart is neither too complicated or being over too simplified. It actually helps you to see your symptoms at a wider perspective. If you want me to lead you through what might be happening on your X symptoms, do leave down in the comments below. I will help you relate the upstreams and the affected pathways. If you like this video, do remember to hit the like button and share with someone who might think it might help them. There's a playlist over here which you can keep on watching. Inside this playlist, you'll find a lot of videos on health-related myths.